of the month, and I have a special episode for you. As the habit dictates, today's episode is about the one thing this year for you is. I know many of us are still in this planning and now maybe going more into execution mode, and that's also important. I'm a big advocate of action, and although I used to strategize a lot, I want to bring you today a few topics that might be really interesting for you. I want to talk about prioritizing your life, then a little bit give you some update about my secret weapon and how to stay shredded, HIIT, high interval training. Then also some longevity tips, which is really focused about sleeping. And then I want to give you a little prioritization tool, which is more of a, I would say, the resilient optimist tool, as I call it, a resilient optimist, which I call myself. If you don't know, it's a program, but it's also an kind of association to that we can manage anything. It's about how, especially today, about how to learn to let go. Then I want to give you a little bit focus area to learn to reclaim your focus. And ultimately, I want to navigate a little bit towards how to measure your life. And then some little thing before you go. But already before we start, I would encourage you guys to subscribe for the weekly newsletter. If you're into some type of positive news, you can get the shots of inspiration by me. And it's kind of weekly tips and tricks about leadership, but mostly really about resilience and how to overcome things. And I'm flavoring it with some stories. So definitely can navigate to matteomelichar.co, just as you hear it, MATEOMELICHAR.co, and there you can subscribe to the newsletter. So without further ado, let's start today with a little inspiration. So the other day I have actually met with a friend of mine, Timo Bethlehem, and he's been lately, the last time, an inspiration for me to think about prioritization, think about my strength, and just like Timo and many other friends, and we recorded actually with Timo 2 sessions already on prioritization. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on the FitFun podcast, and we discussed broadly prioritization, but also generally how to double down on that strategy. And I feel as well now, especially at the start of the year, it's the possibility for us to choose the right thing. And the one thing that we talked about, and I asked Timo actually about, is, what is the thing that you would choose yourself? And for him was his partner. For me, I think I realized it's really about friendships and about, surrounding myself even with more growth friends and doubling down on that. And that's, for everybody different thing, and it means different thing to different people. But I would encourage you just to have these seated or standing or whatever sessions with your friends where it challenges your thinking. Hearing different stories, hearing how other people think, challenges you to proactively think about your life and think about where you want to go. Also have this quote for you, especially when we slide towards the topic of HIIT, that if you want to be a really successful leader, I believe that how you feel about yourself, and that has to do a lot with your physiology. And in my opinion, if you have six-pack, it gives you a little bit the boost and the confidence that it's needed, and you can build it really with the way of the turtle. It's just never stop, never surrender, just keep working on it. And some of these benefits I've seen in my life by implementing HIIT. There are a few of them, a handful, and you can definitely, if you put in Google, you will definitely find out, a lot of gurus and tips about how to do it. But as a certified, fitness instructor and expert, I would say it really burns less calories or more calories in less time. So usually 25 to 30% more. And the beauty thing is that you keep burning fat also 24 hours after. There is this Norwegian kind of system 4x4 where you do 4 minutes kind of intense and 4 minutes like a slower pace. I follow different protocols, but it's also very interesting to just explore different things. And the one thing that I like as well, and that Timo actually recommended me about, is Norwegian protocol um, by Dr. Ronda, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's really interesting just to explore. But generally, if you think about high interval training, just increases your heart rate, right? It challenges kind of your pre-exercise, but also especially the post-exercise oxygen consumption, and how well your body continues, using oxygen during exercise, but also using calories even after the workout. I also see the big improvement in cardiovascular health. So generally, I feel like your lungs and your heart, kind of the engine of your body, is getting stronger, which means your body also indicates kind of there is this whole thing of VO2 max, the oxygen uptake, and reducing risk of heart disease and high blood pressure. I also like high interval training. I have to say though, with exclamation, that it preserves muscle while burning fat, but also with the exclamation, meaning I do these periods of high interval training when I'm a little bit off weight, and I have to say I see the difference in my physique when I use weights with high interval training and without high interval training. So it's true, you will build some muscle with high interval training, but it's a lot about definition rather than building like a bulky physique. At least that's in my opinion. One important thing is, before we move on to the next topic, and I have one bonus thing, it's boost in insulin sensitivity and regulating blood sugar. This is a big thing for many of us because every time we eat carbs, our blood spikes through release of insulin. And if you do, for example, or have a big breakfast, I would encourage you to do a high interval training before you have the breakfast, because then all you eat goes directly into muscle. One thing that I also want to kind of conclude here is that I see with HIIT is the mental toughness that increases with doing actually and pushing yourself beyond what's comfortable. I'm using the Apple Watch, and actually Timo challenge me this week, say, hey, are you actually hitting the zone 5? I'm like, no, I think I'm usually zone 3. And then he went on and on how, the athletes can actually reach zone 5. So I pushed myself this week, and long and behold, I actually hit the zone 5 for a few seconds. So it was actually quite inspiring to see that you can push yourself. And overall, I think it's also just advantageous to do everywhere. So if I could encourage you, please do your interval training if you can, at least once a week. With that said, also the next topic, and maybe I should have started with this before, there are a few tips I want to give you around sleep. And that's nothing new. There is, again, just Google if you need some tips and tricks, or put it into ChatGPT and you will get definitely the best tips and tricks. But what I see here is that, sleep, especially if you have, like myself, the Apple Watch, you can track the sleep cycles. And like today, for example, I can see that I have slept like whatever 7 hours, because 2 hours I was awake and I was just ruminating in the night. And this is beautiful that sometimes even without a watch you already know how you feel. But I want to give you a few tips that help me a lot. I set kind of non-negotiable sleep schedules. So between, let's say, 10 and 11, I try to sleep. Then also looking at pre-bed routine. I am not always great at this, to be honest, but creating some relaxing bedtime routine, choosing pre-sleep schedule and rituals like music, reading book. That's a big one for me now, thanks to my partner. And optimizing kind of your sleep environment as well helps a lot. So again, you can go to Dr. Bruce. I think he's a sleep doctor, and you can take your chronotype and what type of person you are and when it's best for you to get up and wake up, or go to bed as well. But optimizing your sleep environment has many benefits, because if you sleep in more colder environment, I see it with myself, I just sleep better. Also, just like yesterday, I had a huge, indulged in a huge meal, and that's what actually kept me awake. And also with watch like this, what you get is, your increase in wrist temperature, also your breathing, respiratory kind of breathing, and the amounts you take during 1 minute also is shown. So it's really interesting because then okay, well, when I'm eating too close to bedtime or just too big meal, it just disrupts the sleep. So I just would say, also related to the HIIT interval, if you include better sleep and sleep at least 7 to 8 hours, I would really encourage you. At least that's what I try to do now in my life, because I used to sleep less and I definitely see the toll on my health compared to sleeping 8 hours. It's just you manage stress and anxiety better. Maybe like you or me, I'm more prone to more anxiety, more stress, and generally it is better and more manageable when I am just well slept. All right. So take a sip of water, and as you think about these tips, I want you to let it sink in and also look at your routine. But also with that, I want to give you another kind of perspective on different topic, and I want to shift gears a little bit towards some of these things that we are talking in the group now with some of my friends, like Deb Gemmel, who's an integrative wellness health coach and top coach or top 10 coach in Canada, and my friend Timo Bethlehem, who's the managing director of a marketplace in Northwest Germany. And we have this small group where we talk about, our stories and a little bit about prioritization and really thinking. We just actually started, but I would encourage you, if you want to check it out, and ping me on LinkedIn or just via this channel. I can drop you the link wherever you see it or hear it. And I just want to encourage you, because there are a few things how I'm thinking about letting go, especially from the resident optimist perspective. It comes again back to the word prioritization and asking, what is the one thing you want to accomplish this year for yourself? What are the urgent tasks? And a lot of the things that Timo actually said profoundly when we are recording our prioritization session the other day. He said, there are a few things that you think about, but then they are not really a priority for you, just because a few weeks down the road you forget them. And many things are on our task and schedule in our shoulders, on our shoulders, and we struggle to let it go. And I feel it has to do with fear to let go, and perfectionism, guilt, and maybe need for control. And sometimes what we need to do is delegate. And I would encourage you as well, with some of the things I'm learning this year, to let go of some of the things and projects that I always wanted to do, and just for the sake of it, and really dedicate my time to things that I believe are really meaningful for me. One thing that helps, or there are a few things that can help you to let go, is just put it out there and say, hey, ask for help. But maybe before you even do that, I feel that there are a few fears that can stand in your way, like fear of delegation, worrying that other people won't do a good job, fear of disappointment. I think this is a big one for many of us. Not wanting to say no to people's requests, for example, fear of missing out, thinking of every opportunity must be pursued. That's in my case. And fear of failure, believing that letting go means losing control and making mistakes. I think also the central theme why I just wanted to talk about this briefly today is letting go is really essential because of the baggage we are carrying with us. And it's just like, imagine this invisible baggage we have on our back, just getting bigger and bigger, and your mind actually keeps looking for solutions how to solve it, right? You put it once there, and it's just on the disk, and a driver disk, and you just need to think about it, or your brain needs to think about it. All of this, mental overload leads to burnout, stress, reduced productivity, lack of strategic thinking, decreased quality of work. And I would encourage you as well, and that's what Timo also brought to my attention again, is use some prioritization frameworks like Eisenhower, where you categorize a little bit your work in different kind of areas, in quadrants. urgent, not important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, neither important, neither urgent, and eliminate a little bit these things that are, on the top of your backpack, and eventually sift towards the bottom of things. And just like, garden needs to be fertilized, just once in a while, just go in and just repack some stuff, throw some stuff away. Use the 80-20 rule, where recognize that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. So focus on high impact tasks and things, and that's sometimes hard to do. That's why you need to ask for help. So again, don't beat yourself up, because I've done that many times, and there are AI tools now which can schedule or manage your schedule and just reprioritize when something gets canceled, something else pops in. So you're constantly kind of triggered and don't have to think what to do and how to do it. With that goes as well a little bit the next theme that I want to bring to your attention, guys, which is reclaiming your focus and transforming loss into strategic vision. I feel that we work now, or live now, in the age of sacrificing a little bit the present moment. And I see it with myself a little bit, is ruminating and thinking constantly about what if scenarios. We live in times, like politically and economically, where many people are just worried about their jobs, or the country is in unrest, or politically there are some, leaders who, lead in a way that instills fear, or even just questions their judgment. And I think we also have with that, obviously, our own lives, right? The weight of nostalgia in professional life. Just thinking about, we often think about things that were lost, and we forget to focus on things that could be possible. And we so much ruminate over past achievements, influential connections, and pivotal moments, that we forget that how powerful it can be to just unplug and just be in a present moment. And I have to think often about astronauts when they return back, and I think they are a big inspiration, at least for me, because obviously those are the heroes who go outside Earth to explore the universe, and then they come back. And I think when you see Earth from outside, obviously all the petty problems subside and decrease. And then I think then you would also sometimes grab the politicians by the collar and just pull them out of, and let them have a look at our beautiful Earth. And then, with that also goes, I think the strategic focus should really now be in our lives to go back to be present. And not in the sense of, airy fairy, be a yogi and sit and do nothing, but just like I see with myself falling into the trap of sacrificing my peace of mind to future casting myself and going through different scenarios. Just like I said, I couldn't sleep, and then I'm thinking, is it really worth it? Can I really do something about it? And there was a friend of ours, and she actually was planning, to do X different things, buy a house, have a baby, and travel. And then all of that actually didn't happen. And I think all of these plans can be really misleading. I wouldn't say you shouldn't travel and you shouldn't plan and strategize, but just be present and realize that even your work, and as much as you love it, it's just not eternal. It is, fleeting. And that's why we, I think, need to reframe also our memories and our past achievements into progress, and really go and ponder and get lost in a forest, go for regular walks, disconnect, just like Steve Jobs used to do, right? Walk and talk, move and anchor ourselves a little bit in the present, while thinking, okay, tomorrow is there, but it's not always guaranteed. So, not to keep it only super serious, I also want to give you guys some favorite movies that I actually watched recently, or series. I started watching with my partner the Ghost series. I think it's a series from 2021. Recently, I also watched The Craven the Hunter. There's some, polarity in opinions. My friend actually didn't want to pay money for it, so I bought it myself. We wanted to watch it together. He said, no, it's a crap movie. It has 10% Rotten Tomatoes. I'm a big fan of Marvel, so I like to watch movies like that. I really liked it, and I think it was, way better than I actually expected. Especially after watching the video from a critic who totally, butchered it and said it's totally not worth it. And now with Sony kind of, managing a little bit the whole production, it's really crap. But regardless of that, I think there are many movies that, because of personality, we just will watch anyway. The second thing or the third that I would encourage you as well is watching the Atlas. And that's kind of it. I think there's just always good for the weekends to watch something. And during the week, I don't know how about you. I try to stay a little bit off the TV, maybe in the evening, just for a couple of minutes, just during dinner, etc. But then mostly I try to use the second window of opportunity to work, if possible. There is a quote I want to share with you guys from Anatole France. To accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream, not only plan, but also believe. I mentioned a lot of things before, and a lot of things are helpful only when you have a higher vantage point. And my partner actually remind me about this, because she said, hey, you're constantly busy with this what if scenarios. What if that happens, then we move there. What if this happens, you will get a job. And I think it's beautiful, but what is even more beautiful is that we just remind ourselves that life is, just like Anatole France says, it's not only about planning, but also believing. We can really quickly lose hope through everything what's happening nowadays in the world, and blame, social media, blame the politicians, and blame the countries, and blame where we live, and blame what's happening, the economy, and not take enough control. So I want to encourage you as well and remind you, you are in control in your life, in what's happening and how is it happening. You can always be behind the driver's seat, or in the driver's seat and behind the driver's wheel. You just have to decide to do so. And with that goes also kind of as we heading towards the end, the reminder of how you will measure your life. So there is a book that I'm currently reading, How Will You Measure Your Life, from Clayton Christensen. It's a Harvard Business School professor, and it's about applying business strategy and principles to personal life. And he talks about examples of many fellow colleagues and students who he worked with, and later on, when he checked on them, was a bit disappointed, because a lot of them, were just either, failed marriages or corrupted, or etc. And I think our lives obviously run in this linear straight line, and then sometimes, people cut corners on integrity and stuff. And I like this book because it is just asking you what truly matters. And I think this is also what I asked the initial kind of thesis of this session together, is about what is the one thing for you. And it's really hard for me to answer. I'm still going through this, but it might be even hard for you. But I like this bigger, and that's why I said we need a bigger picture, right? Bigger perspective. And that's why books like, How Will You Measure Your Life, and prioritizing what truly matters, is reminding us that it's not about professional chasing of titles and success and power, but it's about allocating kind of resources, time and energy and focus to relationships, right? To what really matters, to people who will be there. And also what I feel is that relationships, especially as you get older, people deprioritize just because they prioritize their career, and they immediately focus on salary, promotions, and I think that challenge with relationships as well, we all know it requires consistent long-term investment and nurturing, family relationship, friendships, and dedicating kind of the application to applying ourselves to future growth is so key for, where we go in life. And ultimately, I think it's also just avoiding, just like we all fall into it sometimes. I did, you probably too, that many, successful professionals achieve their dream wealth status, but still feel unfulfilled, right? You still keep chasing, you still keep trying to do more, and you associate yourself with the extrinsic reward and rewards rather than with the intrinsic growth in your character. And I think our life should be measured by the size of our character. Unfortunately, our brain doesn't get bigger in size, but think about that. So to conclude, guys, I really enjoy these sessions with you, and I hope, guys and gals, that you were inspired again. And please share it with a few of your friends or family, and maybe they need to hear this a little bit. Just a reminder that it's really about being strategic. I try to challenge myself every year to be a bit more thoughtful and a bit more granular and a bit more grounded about where I'm heading. And my partner always reminds me as well, hey, you have time, don't stress, don't beat yourself up. So I would encourage you to do the same. Be kind to yourself. Just know that even if you don't have anybody in your life who cares about I love you, I pat you on the shoulder, give you a high five. I'm sure people need to hear you and your story, and need to know your great strength. So to find this, to kind of balance this out as well with something that could maybe be exciting for you as well, I would encourage you to subscribe for the Shots of Inspiration, which is my weekly newsletter about resilience and some, pondering and different sessions I'm sharing there as well. Sometimes some extra episodes I recorded back then with, different people and different hosts, and different experts, but as well some maybe courses, ebooks, and something that could help you on your way to become your best self. So thank you again for being you. And until the next time, stay legendary. And remember, what is your one thing? And sometimes the answer comes when we ask this question. I just listened to this neurosurgeon, and his whole kind of science and thesis was, if you want to achieve something and manifest something, it's pretty much about take your pen, write it down, read it silently, then read it out loud, and then kind of maybe put it out there in your mind. And I think the beauty, this is what I've seen with my life, the beauty of our brain is that when you put it out there, it will often happen, maybe not exactly as you expected. But think about a negative self-talk. We often tell ourselves we are stupid, and then we wonder why we do stupid decisions. But imagine if you tell yourself more positive stuff, and that you're a good human being, and that you help others, and you repeat it to yourself, your brain will actually go and kind of rewire it to look for it, right, to make it happen. So this is the exciting stuff. So stay motivated, stay awesome, and until the next time, I'm looking forward to see you soon.